Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Thursday. It's May 29th, and this will be our chart lesson for today. And just a reminder that I'm not sure yet if I'm going to come in shortly for early in the morning or not. I have a early morning appointment around 9:30 or 10, and normally that's when I do upload the mid-morning report. So I'm not sure if I'm going to upload it tomorrow yet or not. The doctor's office is only like 5 minutes from here, so I may, if I'm up early and feeling good, I may come on in. I'm feeling a little better each day, slowly getting my strength back, so I should be caught up by tomorrow as well. I'm hoping I will be. So what I'll probably do, I may come in and upload the report before I call it a day and head out. So maybe there'll be a mid-morning report, maybe not. Obviously, no chart lesson tomorrow because I normally don't do them on Friday anyway. So once I leave tomorrow for my doctor's appointment, I won't come back most likely. So anyway, we'll see. Maybe there'll be a mid-morning report tomorrow. Maybe not. I'm just not sure yet. It just depends on how I'm feeling in the morning. But I'm better every day. My surgery went well, and I appreciate all the notes, the prayers, all that. I'm feeling good. I'm getting better every day. I'm getting my strength back, and hopefully in a couple more weeks I'll kind of be back to 100% normal again. So anyway, I had a little secondary issue when I came out of surgery. I didn't talk a whole lot about it. I'll just tell you about it real quickly. Um, when I was in surgery, I went into AFib. I've never had heart problems. I've always had strong heart. But for some reason, I went into AFib, and my heart was in AFib for 2 or 3 days after that surgery. But all of a sudden, I hadn't been able to get in to see a heart doctor yet because it's like months away here. It's not like the earliest originally I could get in was September, but I got somebody that was going to get me in next week. I think I'm still going to keep that appointment and go in and just let them check my heart out and that kind of thing to be sure there's nothing. But they said that sometimes that happens in surgery, that your heart can do some funny things, and they didn't seem too concerned about it, and it did clear up on its own. So my heart's beating, my irregular heartbeat is gone now, and my heart is beating normally. So anyway, I know I kind of left y'all hanging with that, but I didn't want to say a whole lot about it until I knew more. Um, because it just seems like every time I turn around, I've got some kind of issue lately. But hopefully that is one that is behind me, and it was just something from the surgery, something from the being put to sleep, and that my heart is back to normal. Hopefully that's a permanent thing. So I've never had any issues like that in the past. And I have had some checkups recently in the last few years, and no sign of that. And I take my blood pressure regularly, and my actual blood pressure machine tells you if your heart's got irregular heartbeat. And it showed for a few days. It never showed prior to that, but it showed for a few days after the surgery, and now it seems to clear it up. So anyway, I go in tomorrow just for a checkup, follow up from my surgery, and my secondary issue seems to be hopefully a thing of the past. So anyway, let's get to the chart lesson. You can see the daily chart here. It looked like it looked like a big reversal day. Again, it's only about 3:30, so we could trade all the way down and close at the bottom, and it ends up being a very bearish day. But at the moment, it looks like it's just kind of a neutral sideways day. But notice we did get a break of this channel here, this blue two-tier channel. We got the break, and we did get a new high here. Sometimes you get two legs to a new high. Sometimes it just kind of folds over and gives you a flatter channel. So we'll have to see what happens here. But it's what looked like was going to be a sell-off has now just turned into kind of a neutral day. I mean, we are closing. Actually, we're going to close higher than yesterday. So even though we're going to close near the low of today's movement, we are going to, looks like, unless something changes between now and 4 o'clock, it looks like if the market was to close now, we're going to close higher. So um, so we'll see what tomorrow brings. But I think this is maybe some of the hangover from a long holiday weekend, and people are probably still, like I talked about yesterday or maybe the day before, that People are probably still on vacation. People are starting summer vacations. All kind of things like that are going on, and the market will uh, probably continue to be slower over the summer unless something crazy happens. But you can see just kind of a neutral day there on the daily chart. So let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart, and we'll go through the trades, and we'll wrap this week up for the most part as far as our chart lessons. Okay, you can see we rallied up to that new high during the overnight, and then just suddenly took a, and you can see this spiking channel up, and there was a break, a move to a new high, and then we just reversed into a strong downtrend. Got a close outside there, and then we really, this is really just too steep, and we folded over into a slightly flatter channel, but it's still pretty steep all the same, and there's possibly a channel within this channel as well. There, you'll see them both that I drew there when I zoom in. But we got a break of both of them here, moved to a new low. Looked like we were going to reverse out of there, but we just got a two-legged correction, which often leads to another leg down. And I didn't measure any of these legs here, but let's just see what it looks like here if we got them measured and moved down. And you can see we got a perfect two legs down there after the correction here. So a lot of times you'll see that two-legged correction is the middle of a pattern, and that's what it looks like it was today. We got another leg down, and then we rallied from that and just kind of went sideways. It looks like we were mostly sideways from about 9 o'clock on, other than that final push lower here to make a new low after a break of these two channels here. Actually, we already had the break there. We just had a secondary move down as well. So, but there it is. That's how I saw it today. I'm going to zoom in here and we'll work through these trades. And again, not a lot of trades. I mean, there's several here, but there's not a lot. And it's just because there's not as much volume and not as much movement. Okay, you can see 7 o'clock came, and we did have a 7:30 high volatility news items, a couple of them GDP and unemployment claims. And so really you couldn't start trading until after 7:30, so didn't really affect much here. We got a break of that channel and a new low, and it looked like we were going to rally. And notice we get a couple of legs up. There's actually, by the counts, it wouldn't be a second entry right here. Let me zoom in here a little more for you. A little bit out, a little far out there, but you can see it leg up, correction, and we actually get first entry, second entry, and then a third entry here. So this would be a third entry, but you got your close outside here and a move to a new high and a nice signal bar. It actually broke higher and failed and turned down. You could actually enter this on the engulfing bar if you understand that. Most of the time I tell most of you just ignore engulfing bars unless they close nicely, which they did here. So you might even enter here. You're probably better off to wait on the lower high though, and that comes right here, and that's pretty good setup, and it's 8 ticks. So I like going short right there, and that leads into a big move. And we correct here, close outside, we get a new high, but that's just too sideways and congested. We do get a lower high here, but the signal bar is no good. This is an inside bar, you can't use it. We even got a lower high from there, which if you'd got a good signal bar, maybe you enter. But this is your signal bar, and this is another inside bar. So again, you cannot enter there. It's just not a good setup. Turns out to be a nice move, but you know, you can't assume that's what's going to happen. So, but anyway, we bounce. You get a first entry. You actually have a channel working up, and you get a close outside here and a new high, and it breaks higher again and fails and turns down. You can't enter that one on the engulfing bar. It would have to be a fully bullish bar here for the most part, and it's not. So you have to wait till this closes no matter what, even if you're, even if you consider yourself a seasoned trader that should be trading engulfing bars, you got to wait for it to close, and then you could enter one tick below that. And that is a second entry short. Technically, the second entry happened on this outside bar, but we ended up making another new high here, so you still could treat that as a second entry. And I would count it once it broke below that bar. And then we had two legs up here, but this is just sideways, so this is a chance to enter on range rules at the top of a range or as a second entry short. Either way, you play it both ways. So there's multiple reasons to enter that trade. And that's probably the best move of the morning so far. If you can catch that one move, that's probably all you need today. You catch a runner on that, you can really, it can add up there. Now I didn't mark this trade here. Let me put this on here. At the time I would, it's probably more like that. That would give you room to get out there, but early on it looked more like it was, this was your range, this part here, this was a failed breakout, and it didn't look like you had a whole lot of room. After the fact, it looks pretty obvious that maybe it's up here instead. So, and you could argue there's a triple test there. So I'm willing to give that a green one. If you played it, I think you're okay but by the time it made this new high, there is plenty of room there. So, but early on there wasn't. It looked like we were back in the range. So I wasn't crazy about it in real time, but looking at it after the fact, I like it more. Of course, it's always easier to say that because you see that it worked. But all the same, maybe you took that trade. Maybe you saw it like this right out of the gate. If you did, I think you're okay taking that trade. I mean, if you were still entering over here, I'd say no because you've been turning down at that midline. But here we'd already pushed through and come back, so we've already cleaned all that out. So it's probably safe to go through there again. We turn back down and make another push down, get a first entry, turn and make a new low. And that's a second entry long after making a new low, but it's a really strong downtrend, and that looks a little sideways, and that does look like rejection starting, but you don't have enough information because prior to that we're just working sideways and we still couldn't close higher. So I only marked it green. I think you're better off to wait on a higher low, which comes here, and it's too late. There's no setup there. This thing just runs up, close outside, new high, and it turns down right here. Again, I didn't mark this one, but you do have a close outside new high, so I think I should have at least marked it green. Ideally, you'd probably wait on a lower high here, and we didn't get one. You do have one here, but it's just moved too far. That's too much to be considered a lower high. And but notice you got a new high here, and then you get a first entry, turns down, and so when it breaks above there, that's a second entry long. But we're still kind of in a downtrend, and that's not a perfect pattern. Again, you might enter here on the second entry, but I think you need a higher low, and it actually breaks lower here and fails and turns up. I think you could go long on the maybe even the engulfing bar, but if you wait till this closes, maybe you don't. I probably should have made this green because you're only going to enter on the engulfing bar, and that's a little more advanced for most of you, so I probably should mark that green because it's not a perfect bearish bar. It needs to be pretty much all red, and it's not. But that's still pretty bearish looking, and it closes very near its low, so I think that's probably close enough that you could enter on that engulfing bar. It runs back up here, and it breaks out the high. You can see we had a channel working up, close outside, two swings to a new high, and then it turns down. I like going short there. I marked it green because, like always, you're better off to wait on a lower high, which doesn't come. This thing just, the bottom falls out right there, and then you get another leg. And now you got a break, and that's just the first entry. And then you make a new low. You make a higher low here, but no setup. You run back up, and it breaks out again, and it fails, but no setup there. And then we're just kind of chopping along here. Now, this setup right here happened prior to it really looking like a range because we only had one high up here, and you might have had a double bottom, but there's room to get out here. So this is, notice the new low, first entry, second entry, and we hadn't made a new low on this channel down. So I think you're okay to go short right there. By the time this one comes, now it's pretty obvious there's support across here, and I think you have to sit tight. There was a little failed breakout, but that's not good enough to go long on. And then that's not good enough to go short on either. And it breaks out the lower end of this channel. and you get another really nice move down. So it's a shame we couldn't get into that one, but that's the way it happens sometimes. But you get a break, move to a new low, and then it reverses. Not good enough to try to pick a bottom. Even though you got a measured move there, I don't think you want to try to pick a bottom. Wait for a higher low, which comes here, and that's two sideways. Not a very good setup. A lot of resistance right across there. If I draw this, maybe it's a little clear. So yeah, I don't think you want to enter long right there into that resistance. It takes off when it does, but you just can't risk that. And then you push back into the range, pull back, first entry, and then there's a second entry here, but I don't like that signal bar, and that's too congested, too sideways. I mean, you don't want to go long into that with that signal bar. You can see how it pulls back and closes back inside. It does end up pushing on higher, but you don't know that it will. Sometimes it will and sometimes it won't, so it's not a sure thing. It's not a high probability win, so we just skip it. And you can see we finally get a close outside, move to a new high. We turn down, and then we turn back up here. But notice what happens. You got a double top, so that's a new high, and you get a first entry, and then this breaks lower and fails and turns up. I think you can go long on the engulfing bar or when it closes. And it takes off. This is somewhat of a trap here. And so that's the reason I like that one. We are still in this range, but we do get a close outside and a new low all on one. And in that case, you'd probably want to wait for that bar to close since it's engulfing. I don't know why we get so many engulfing bars lately, but it's just like a thing. Every day there's so many setups with engulfing bars, and I just don't remember them being that numerous in the past. But I guess it's because we're seeing a lot of sideways choppy stuff. But anyway, we run up, make a couple of swings up to another new high. There is a second entry short there, but that signal bar just doesn't qualify. There's no lower high here. This is all too sideways. You just cannot enter in this stuff. You can see that little range. You get a little failed breakout. It comes back. The channel is holding, but you're sideways, and it's just not a good setup. Just the first entry, no signal bar. It does bounce down here at the lows, but we're still in this down channel. I think you got to wait. And it runs up, and there's a hidden second entry here, and it does close outside and pretty much make a double top at the same time. So you might go short there. I marked it green. You're better off to wait on the lower high, which is here, and that setup doesn't qualify. So we run back down and we break out down here again, and then you get a first entry, and then it breaks higher and turns down. So a break below that bar is a second entry short. And we've got one leg down, but a lot of times you get a second leg down. So another second entry right off the EMA says, hey, if you've got plenty of room, maybe you go short there. We already do have the break in new low, so every new entry after that point becomes more suspect, because usually you're going to reverse or at least go sideways or get some kind of momentary correction or sideways action after a break in new low. So this one's a little more dangerous, but it ends up breaking lower and failing and turning up. You would have got your scalp if you went short. It's just, and this is why we go for 4 ticks, because there's exactly 6 ticks of movement, which is what it takes to get a 4-tick scalp, entering on a buy or a sell stop and exiting on a 4-tick limit order. You need 6 ticks. Sometimes you'll get out with 5. You don't have to push through your limit order, but normally you do. And that's exactly what we got there. And that's why we go for 4 ticks. Because if you'd have went short there and tried for 5 tick or 1 tick more, you wouldn't have made it. You'd have got stopped out. And it reverses and goes the other way. That's a trap. I like entering on that. Again, it's a little more advanced, a little more convoluted. As long as you got room back to that EMA, I'd say take that trade. And it actually turns out to be a pretty good move. And you're just looking for a scalp. You might get more, but we're really just looking for a scalp out of that trap. And usually you'll get a quick, easy scalp. This gentleman it runs on up. You get a close outside. It comes all the way back and tests the support again. Then you get a close outside, and it makes a few swings to a new low. And you can see you get a easy triple test, maybe quadruple there. And while that signal bar is not perfect, I think the fact that it traded way down here and fought its way back for the third or fourth time, if it breaks above that, you're probably going to get a scalp out of that. You don't know if it's going to take off for sure, but that's a lot of tests of that support that held right there all the way across. And so I like that entry. I marked it as a good entry. And that's just the first entry right there. Signal bar is no good. And that takes us into 230. So if we back out, you can see it again. We had a big two-legged move down here, and then a two-legged correction with another measured leg equal to that last leg. And the first two might even be equal. I didn't measure them either, but let's just see real quick. Actually, they're pretty dang close to the whole thing being two legs down. So there's a secondary reason to look for a target down here. And you can see prices bounced there first before going to the next target and then reversing. So that's a good indication that that's a low point right there. And if you saw both of those, that gives you even more courage to maybe look for an entry down here. I still don't see a good entry, but if there were one, that'd be a good enough reason to probably consider taking it. I mean, you don't want to, just because prices make a measured move in reverse doesn't mean you automatically go long or short there, depending on which way prices are moving. But if you get other reasons and a good setup, then maybe it's just another clue for you, basically. So, but anybody tells you there's no such thing as market geometry, don't believe them. I did a lot of study on this. I did a lot of study on Andrews 25 or 30 years back, and I knew he was on to something. I could never make his stuff work by itself, but I knew he was on to something, and that's where I get this part of my trading with these measured moves and stuff. I learned that from studying Andrews and market geometry, and the man was brilliant and was on to something, and I just think it adds additional information that helps us with reading the chart, where reading the chart is really the ultimate trading strategy, and if there's a holy grail, that's it, reading the chart. And all of you know my thoughts on that. It changed my life, and I know it's changed some other people's lives too, discovering this stuff. So but yeah, the market geometry is real, so never think it's not. But there it is. We traded down, and then we worked sideways. It tried to go lower a few times and just couldn't do it. Prices tried to do that yesterday too at a little lower level down. Actually, it was right in the same price level right in there, that 5,900, 5,890, 5,900 level. We talked about that 5,900 to 5,910 this morning in the mid-morning chart. I talked about watching this level because that was going to be the key, and we did push lower, but it didn't hold. Prices got back in this sideways stuff. So there it is. That's how I saw it. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm trying to go home, by 5 o'clock every day. I'm just trying to rest as much as I can and get back on my feet 100%. So I appreciate you holding the emails. I still got a few. I didn't answer them. I apologize, but I'm trying to get out of here earlier and trying to catch up at the same time. So if you sent me any kind of trading questions, I did not answer them. So maybe next week if I can get to them, I will. But I'm probably not going to address them before then. And I apologize, but it's just I just need to get my health squared away first and foremost and try to get back on track here. So I appreciate you being patient with me and understanding that. But I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back Monday, and no holidays this Monday that I know of this time. Of course, I forgot about last Monday having my surgery and all during the end of the week, and I thought we'd be back Monday, but Monday was Memorial holiday, but I think we're going to be good to go this Monday. So I should see you Monday. Hope you have a great weekend. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.